Calgary City Council just can't seem to get it right when it comes to public art. So let's see here. There was that sphere made of various hardware that's behind a metal fence that nobody sees or visits. There's that lighting on the sewage facility in Forest Lawn. There's that metal orb that burnt someone's jacket when the sun reflected off of it and now remains in storage. And of course, who could forget about the giant blue ring that I have to pass every time I take Deerfoot Trail South to remind me just how terrible council is with making decisions on how to spend millions in taxpayer funds. But now we have the Beaufort Towers, the $500,000 apparent gateway to Calgary on the Trans-Canada Highway that was approved by a city board that's made of metal and Rundle rock stones that are only found in Alberta. So how on earth are these things so expensive? I know art is subjective, but this thing looks like something I could throw together with some stuff from Home Depot. Anyway, this artwork is the source of the latest meltdown in the city, and it's coming from all sides of the spectrum. For one, it's a complete waste of taxpayer money. And when the city of Calgary is crying about not having the cash to fund much needed transit upgrades and other necessities, it's pretty pathetic to be announcing art projects that cost $500,000. And then there's the part about the city recognizing that the location of the art was an important historical Indigenous site and hiring someone from New York to make it. No, they didn't get an actual First Nations person to help out. Instead, they hired a fancy artist from a foreign country. Look, I don't buy into this cultural appropriation nonsense, but this is a bit different than someone wearing a headdress to a Halloween party, and I can see why Indigenous groups are mad. The city actually set out. They made a plan to construct Canadian First Nations art on an important historical site, and then got someone that doesn't even live in the country to make it without officially consulting any Indigenous people that would actually know more about their own history than most people would on the outcome. So, of course, Indigenous groups aren't pleased with the new artwork. Many say the piece just doesn't represent them, which comes as really no great surprise. And they're also saying it looks too much like a traditional burial tower, which they don't like. Artist Del Geis says he talked to some Blackfoot people, but wasn't trying to make a Blackfoot sculpture. He's getting hate mail, he means no offense, and that he respects Indigenous people and culture, which are all believable statements, so there's that too. So in other words, this is a complete disaster, as it usually turns out when Calgary City Council is involved and it's funded by you. Now, admittedly, this is pretty tone deaf on the part of the city, but there's a solution in all of this. Please just get rid of the 1% public art budget, or at the very least freeze it, and figure out how to stop making all of these embarrassing and expensive screw-ups on the taxpayer dime. Why are taxpayers providing public welfare for these things when some Calgarians can't even get a bus in a suitable amount of time to the downtown core? As always, there's usually a private solution to these situations, so why can't private entities fund these things rather than the public? And why are hand-selected boards deciding what art goes up in the city? It's clearly not working when beautifying sewage is considered a good idea. And this issue has been brought up in council meetings before, when Peter DeMong suggested freezing the budget in 2015, but his motion lost 5-9, of which mayoral candidate Andre Chabot and current Mayor Nenshi were amongst those to vote against scrapping it. But now it looks like the issue will arise again, with Sean Chu promising to put forth a motion when council convenes in September. Now, they do have the power to make a change on this file, and they've been attempting for years. Even Nenshi has admitted that some of this public art is awful and has agreed to cap public art funds in the past. But this isn't really a solution when the same problems just keep cropping up over and over again. Just like giving sewage a $250,000 makeover doesn't change the fact that it's still sewage. For the Rebel.media, I'm Holly Nicholas. Thanks for watching. Have you heard that YouTube is cracking down on content that they think is controversial? That could mean anything, and it could mean it affects us at the Rebel too. So we want to build a conservative alternative. If you can help us out, visit theycan'tstopus.ca for all the details.